A perennial plant that has become really popular over the last several years is the hellebore, or the Christmas rose, also called Lenten rose. We can see in a lot of popular magazines that they're featured on the cover even of spring this year, and they're also featured a lot in the sleeves of our plant catalogs. So it just seems like the whole country is still just really enamored by these plants. And if you read some of the captions, you can understand why. 4 or more months of bloom, deer resistant, widely adaptable north to south, very long lived with scant attention, palm-like evergreen foliage, and tough as nails. Well, usually when I read something like that, especially if it says it's widely adaptable north to south or for the whole country, I'm a little bit skeptical because Oklahoma is not like a lot of other places in the United States. Just because it'll grow well there doesn't necessarily mean that it'll grow well in our Oklahoma gardens. Well, the hellebores, or Christmas roses, actually live up to most of this fame. Right here we have a plant here in our shade garden, and they are tough plants. We've been quite pleased with their performance. Of course, we grow them in the shade. And also, if the plants are in kind of an exposed area like they are right here, we will get some browning of this evergreen foliage. On the winters, like this winter where we have a lot of cold wind, we can get some browning. But all we need to do is just come in with our pruners and just come in and clip these away. And they'll quickly be replaced by the new foliage. And you can see the new foliage already starting to come out here. Of course, the hellebores bloom very early. They start blooming in mid-March. And what the ad said about the color or the blooms for 4 months is true, but after about 2 months, the colors actually start to fade a little bit. But still well worth planting in the garden. These are actually the sepals of the plant that give it a lot of its color. And the hellebores are in the Ranunculaceae, or the ranunculus family. And that's the same family as the peony. And if you gaze down into the flower, you kind of see the resemblance to a peony flower. And just the overall habit and growth of the plant, to me, kind of resembles peonies. The plants are drought tolerant, especially after they get to be established. And they also don't get grazed on by the deer. And the reason for that is these leaves are very tough, very leather-like. So the deer don't really like grazing on those. And we have enough deer out here that we'll know if we have a deer grazing on something. Another really good thing about the hellebores are that they will handle more shade than any other flowering perennial. So that right there is a really good reason to plant these. They do like an organically amended soil, but they will grow well in pretty much any soil. So they're a very tough plant. We have several different types and cultivars of the hellebores. We've got one down in our rock garden called the Corsican hellebore, or Helleborus argutifolius. And again, it has the scorching of the foliage, and it has clusters of greenish flowers, so it makes it kind of unique, but very attractive in the foliage. Well, the hellebores, of course, are a wonderful plant. I agree with most all of the publicity about these plants. So if you want to be a hip gardener and have the latest and the newest plants in your garden, you might want to think about adding a few hellebores.
We hope you've enjoyed this classic from the Oklahoma Gardening Vault. Remember, even though these tips and techniques are timeless, there's always something new to learn in the world of gardening. By subscribing to both Oklahoma Gardening and OK Gardening Classics, you'll have access to a wealth of gardening knowledge, both classic and contemporary.